Charles Darwin is one of the most influential scientists of all time. Darwin was born in England in 1809. He was the fifth of 6 children born to Robert and Susanna Darwin. His work on the theory of evolution has shaped our understanding of the natural world and continues to be an important part of scientific research today. No man who dares to waste 1 hour of time has not discovered the value of life. If I had my life to live over again, I would have made a rule to read some poetry and listen to some music at least once every week. The love for all living creatures is the most noble attribute of man. If everyone was cast in the same mold, there would be no such thing as beauty. An American monkey, after getting drunk on brandy, would never touch it again, and thus is much wiser than most men. I am a firm believer that without speculation there is no good and original observation. We stopped looking for monsters under our bed when we realized that they were inside us. Intelligence is based on how efficient a species became at doing the things they need to survive. The very essence of instinct is that it's followed independently of reason. Blushing is the most peculiar and most human of all expressions. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, not the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is the most adaptable to change. A man's friendships are one of the best measures of his worth. It is always advisable to perceive clearly our ignorance. We are always slow in admitting any great change, of which we do not see the intermediate steps. Often a cold shudder has run through me, and I have asked myself whether I may have not devoted myself to a fantasy. One hand has surely worked throughout the universe. A fair result can be obtained only by fully stating and balancing the facts and arguments on both sides of each question. The limit of man's knowledge in any subject possesses a high interest, which is perhaps increased by its close neighborhood to the realms of imagination. Ignorance more frequently begets confidence than does knowledge. Man tends to increase at a greater rate than his means of subsistence. Animals, whom we have made our slaves, we do not like to consider our equal. The love for all living creatures is the most noble attribute of man. Scientific man ought to have no wishes, no affections, a mere heart of stone. I am not apt to follow blindly the lead of other men. The mystery of the beginning of all things is insoluble by us, and I for one must be content to remain an agnostic. The highest possible stage in moral culture is when we recognize that we ought to control our thoughts. A moral being is one who is capable of reflecting on his past actions and their motives of approving of some and disapproving of others. I see no good reasons why the views given in this volume should shock the religious views of anyone. Evolution is ridden on the wings of butterflies. I am like a gambler and love a wild experiment. The imagination is one of the highest prerogatives of man. One may say there is a force like 100,000 wedges. Origin of man outproved. Metaphysics must flourish. He who understands Baboon would do more towards metaphysics than Locke. Such simple instincts as bees making a beehive could be sufficient to overthrow my whole theory. Great is the power of steady misrepresentation. We are not here concerned with hopes or fears, only with truth as far as our reason permits us to discover it.